where financial advice seems to come from every corner. You know, the latest app, the hottest stock tip, the never-ending news cycle. Isn't there something reassuring about the idea that maybe, just maybe, some fundamental principles of building wealth are timeless?
Absolutely. It feels like there should be some core truths, right?
Exactly. And today we're diving deep into a source that suggests exactly that. George S. Classon's The Richest Man in Babylon.
Ah, yes. Not your typical finance manual.
Definitely not. It's a collection of really engaging stories, parables, set in ancient Babylon, first published way back in the 1920s.
And what's amazing, as the Los Angeles Times pointed out once, is how relevant that core wisdom still feels for our financial lives today, thousands of years later.
It's pretty striking. So our mission on this deep dive is to pull out that core wisdom from The Richest Man in Babylon, the practical takeaways, the aha moments that can help you, our listener, build your own financial security.
Whether you're just starting out or you've been at this for a while.
Right. We're going to unpack these concepts in a way that's hopefully clear, engaging, and definitely won't feel like another lecture. We're talking about the same basic laws that guided wealth creation when Babylon was like the center of the world.
And it's crucial to remember, Babylon wasn't just some myth. It was real. A cradle for many of the basic financial ideas we still use. Its legendary wealth wasn't just luck.
No.
No, it was really a result of the knowledge and, frankly, the disciplined habits of its people.
Okay, so let's jump into the first story. We meet Bansir, a hardworking chariot maker, and his friend Kobe, a talented musician.
Right, both putting in the hours.
Totally. I mean, Bansir is constantly working, but somehow his purse always seems to be, well, empty. What strikes you about that?
It just immediately flags that timeless frustration, doesn't it? So many people work incredibly hard but don't see their financial situation actually improving. They're trading time for money, sure, but not building anything lasting.
Right. And then, in contrast, we have Arkad. He's described as the wealthiest man in all of Babylon. So rich that even the king asks him for advice.
All right, the king seeks his counsel.
But it's not just about having a big pile of gold, is it? The book talks about a consistent flow of income, a golden stream that keeps his wealth growing. What's the key difference there?
It's not a one-off jackpot. It's about having a system, something that continually generates wealth. That's a huge difference between just, having some cash and actually being wealthy.
Now, Arkad has this really interesting chat with some old friends. They're curious, maybe a bit envious about his success.
Understandably.
They point out, look, we all started out the same background, same chances, but we haven't done nearly as well, even though we work hard. What's Arkad's take?
It's that age-old question, isn't it? Why do some people get ahead financially while others just tread water? Arkad's answer cuts right to the chase.
What does he say?
He tells him it's not about some random fickle fate smiling on him. It's about understanding and following the principles, the laws that govern how you accumulate wealth. They're learnable.
And he's pretty blunt about fickle fate, isn't he? Calls it a vicious goddess that doesn't bring lasting good. Leads to either reckless spending or, fearful hoarding.
Yeah, he gets the psychology of it. Money that comes without effort or understanding. It's either easily lost or makes you constantly afraid of losing it. Real wealth, for Arkad, comes from knowing how to manage it.
And for him, wealth isn't just stuff. He sees it as something that increased the potency of all the good things in life. It's a power, creates possibilities, lets you do things like build temples for the community. How does that change how we think about wealth?
It elevates it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's not just about hoarding gold. It becomes a tool for a richer life. More choices, a bigger impact.
So how did Arkad actually learn these laws? He wasn't born rich. He started as a scribe, working hard, but all his earnings just went on. Well, necessities.
Which is a situation many people can relate to, especially early on. Income comes in, income goes out just to cover the basics. Very little left over.
Then comes this key moment. He's working for Algamish, a moneylender, and he basically strikes a deal.
Yeah.
He'll finish a tough job extra fast if Algamish teaches him the secret to wealth.
Right, the bargain. Algamish becomes his mentor, and that first interaction reveals a principle that sounds so simple, but it's incredibly powerful.
Which is, don't keep us in suspense.
A part of all you earn is yours to keep.
Okay, sounds obvious.
It does, but Algamish really hammers it home. Think about it. We pay the baker, the sandal maker, the tax collector, everyone but ourselves. We don't prioritize paying ourselves first.
That idea of paying yourself first really sticks, doesn't it? And Algamish asks him, if you kept just 1/10 of all you earn, how much would you have in 10 years? It forces you to confront where the money's actually going.
It's about being intentional, setting aside a piece for your future before it all just disappears. And is an analogy of a wealth tree. You plant the vines with savings, nurture it, and eventually you get the shade, the benefit. It's a great visual.
And, today, automating that, setting up an automatic transfer for that 10%, maybe into a simple index fund, that's the modern version of planting that tree. It harnesses compounding, which we'll get to.
Absolutely. It makes the principle actionable.
So Arcad starts doing it, saves his 10th, and surprisingly, he finds he doesn't really miss it. He manages just fine on the rest.
Often the case, we adjust.
But then comes his first attempt at investing. He gives his savings to Azmur, the brickmaker, who's planning a trip to buy rare jewels. Sounds promising.
Maybe. But think about it. A brickmaker dealing in jewels.
Exactly. It ends in disaster. Turns out they were just worthless bits of glass. Classic beginner mistake. What's the big lesson there?
Oh, it's crucial. Seek advice from people who actually know what they're talking about in that specific field. A brickmaker knows bricks, not gems. Taking financial advice from unqualified people is risky.
Big time. What are some red flags you think people should watch out for today when getting advice?
Well, promises of guaranteed high returns with low risk, pressure to act immediately, lack of transparency about fees or how the investment works. Those are big ones. Always ask questions. Understand what you're getting into.
Good advice. So Arcad learned that the hard way, but he doesn't give up. He goes back to saving his 10th, diligently.
Resilience is key.
His second investment is with Agar, the shield maker. He lends his savings to Agar to buy bronze, and this time he starts earning rental income from it. Success.
Seems like it. He's making his money work.
But then he makes another common mistake. He takes that rental income, the earnings, and spends it all on feasts and nice things. Immediate gratification.
Ah, yes. Algamish has that great line, doesn't he? You do eat the children of your savings.
Yes. What's he really getting at there?
He's saying, look, those initial earnings, they should be put back to work. Reinvest them to grow your capital faster.
Yeah.
Build up your army of golden slaves, your income-producing assets, before you start spending the profits freely. Focus on growth first.
Eventually, Arcad gets it right. Algamish sees his progress. He's learned how to acquire money, how to keep it, and how to use it wisely. And he offers him a partnership managing his lands.
That's a huge vote of confidence. It shows Arcad has truly internalized the principles. He's not just saving, he understands investment and compounding.
Now, Arcad also has some interesting thoughts on luck. He says he was only fortunate because he had a strong desire to prosper before he even met Algamish. Preparation met opportunity.
Right. Luck favors the prepared mind, as they say. It's about being proactive, having the right mindset, so when an opportunity comes along, you're ready to grab it.
And he redefines willpower, too. Not as some mystical force, but as the unflinching purpose to just complete the tasks you set for yourself, even small ones. He says that builds self-assurance for bigger challenges.
It's incredibly practical. Willpower isn't about gritting your teeth constantly. It's about building habits, follow-through, getting small wins that build momentum. Very actionable.
Then a friend raises a really good question. If everyone started saving like this, wouldn't there eventually not be enough wealth to go around? A sort of zero-sum game idea.
It's a common concern.
How does Arcad respond? He argues that wealth grows wherever men exert energy. He uses the example of a rich person building a big house. The money paid out circulates, benefiting the workers, the suppliers, and the finished house itself adds value.
Exactly. He's countering that scarcity mindset. Wealth isn't a fixed pie that we just divide up. It expands through productivity, through trade, through innovation. Building the palace creates more wealth all around.
This all leads us to King Sargon. He notices something's wrong in Babylon. Despite big government projects, lots of spending, most people are still poor.
Sound familiar?
A little, yeah. The chancellor explains, well, only a few people really know how to get and keep wealth. So the king decides everyone should learn.
A noble goal.
And who does he pick to teach them? Arcad, of course. Which brings us to the famous 7 cures for a lean purse. This is where we get really practical, actionable advice, right?
Exactly. This is Arcad distilling his wisdom into steps anyone can follow.
Okay, cure number 1. Start thy purse to fattening. This is that bedrock principle we talked about. Save at least 1/10, 10% of everything you earn.
Pay yourself first.
He uses that simple analogy, the egg seller, who puts 10 eggs in his basket each morning but only takes out 9 to sell. Eventually what happens?
The basket overflows. It's about creating that initial surplus, that gap between income and spending. That's step 1.
Cure number 2. Control thy expenditures. This is budgeting, but not just tracking. It's about consciously deciding what's a necessity versus what's just a desire and plugging the leaks.
Right, understanding where your money is really going.
One student complains, saying a budget sounds like slavery, but Arcad flips it. He says a budget you create yourself actually helps you achieve your most important goals, your cherished desires, by protecting them from impulse buys.
That's such a key mindset shift. Budgeting isn't about restriction, it's about control. It empowers you to direct your money where you truly want it to go, rather than letting desires control you.
Third cure, make thy gold multiply. Now we're talking investing. Putting your savings to work so they earn more money.
Letting your money work for you.
Arcad uses an example of lending money out and letting the rental income grow over decades. Today, we'd think more broadly stocks, bonds, real estate, but the core idea is the same, right? Put your capital to work.
Precisely. This is where compounding comes in. Your money earns money, and then that money starts earning too. It's like a snowball rolling downhill, getting bigger and bigger over time. It's the engine of long-term wealth.
Fourth cure, guard thy treasures from loss. This circles back to protecting your capital. Make wise investments. Get advice from people who know their stuff. It's a direct callback to Arcad's mistake with the fake jewels.
You have to protect the principal. Avoiding dumb risks and getting guidance from trustworthy, knowledgeable sources is crucial. You worked hard for that money. Don't lose it foolishly.
How can people find reliable advice today, though? It feels tricky sometimes.
Look for advisors with a proven track record who are transparent about fees. Maybe fiduciaries who are legally obligated to act in your best interest. Understand their philosophy. Don't just jump at the first slick sales pitch.
Good point. Fifth cure, make of thy dwelling a profitable investment. Basically advocating for owning your own home, not just for financial reasons, but for stability, family well-being. He paints a nice picture of kids playing safely, wives growing herbs.
Yeah, it frames homeownership as both a potential financial asset building equity over time as property values rise and you pay down the mortgage, and as a source of personal stability.
Sixth cure, ensure a future income. Planning ahead. Providing for your old age or for your family if you're not around.
Thinking long-term.
He even seems to predict something like life insurance. Very forward-thinking. Modern ways to do this. Retirement accounts, pensions, maybe annuities, and yes, insurance.
It's about building that safety net for the future, ensuring you and your loved ones are taken care of down the road, covering those what-ifs.
And the seventh, final cure. Increase thy ability to earn. Never stop learning, improving your skills, becoming more valuable in your work.
Your earning power is your biggest asset, arguably.
Right. Investing in your self-education skills pays dividends. He also lumps in ethical behavior here. Pay your debts, care for your family, make a will. It's about being responsible overall.
Absolutely. It builds trust, opens doors. It's all interconnected.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit to the goddess of good luck. There's this debate at the Temple of Learning about, well, how do you get lucky?
A perennial question.
The consensus seems to be that relying on luck at, say, the gaming tables, that's a losing strategy. The odds are just stacked against you long term.
Right. Pure chance is not a reliable path to wealth.
But the conversation gets more nuanced. Maybe good luck plays a part in successful business deals, even if we think it's all our own doing. And they hit on this interesting idea. Think about the successes we almost enjoyed but which escaped us. Missed opportunities.
The ones that got away.
A merchant shares his father's advice. Always save that tenth for investments. Why? Because being prepared, having capital ready, allows you to seize those lucky breaks when they appear. It links back to Arcad's idea of preparation.
Exactly. Opportunity might knock, but you need to be able to open the door. Having savings gives you options, the ability to act.
We also get the cautionary tale of the camel buyer. He had a chance to buy sheep cheap, a great deal, but he delayed. He procrastinated.
And the opportunity vanished.
The lesson is clear. Good luck often runs away from procrastination. Hesitation can be costly.
So true. Delaying action, overthinking.
Yeah.
You can miss the boat entirely.
The merchant who shared the story admits he had to conquer his own tendency to delay. The big takeaway. Men of action please her best. Basically take initiative, be decisive. That increases your odds of good luck, or rather of capitalizing on opportunities.
Be proactive. Don't wait for luck to find you. Put yourself in a position where luck can find you, and then act.
Okay, moving on to the 5 laws of gold. We get this wisdom from Calabab during a desert journey. He makes this contrast between wild dogs always focused on the next immediate meal and the thoughtful approach needed for managing wealth.
It's a great analogy. Managing money requires foresight, Discipline, not just chasing the next shiny thing.
Calabab tells the story of Nomasir, Arkad's son. Arkad wants to test him, see if he can handle wealth responsibly before inheriting it all.
A wise approach. Give him a trial run.
So Arkad gives him a bag of gold and a clay tablet with these 5 laws inscribed on it. It's about imparting the wisdom along with the wealth.
Passing on the knowledge, not just the cash. That's key for generational wealth.
Nomasir. Well, he messes up initially. Big time. He gets scammed in a horse trading deal, then makes a bad investment in a shop with an unwise partner, loses a chunk of the gold.
Painful lessons, but valuable ones. Shows the danger of inexperience and poor judgment.
Definitely. But he doesn't give up. He starts applying the 5 laws diligently. He saves consistently, invests carefully with guidance this time, and learns from those mistakes.
He course corrects, uses the laws as his guide.
And he eventually returns to his father not just with the original gold, but with another bag he earned himself. He basically says the wisdom was worth more than the initial gold.
That's the real inheritance, isn't it? The understanding. It shows the power of following those principles.
So let's quickly recap those 5 laws of gold from Calabab. What are they?
Okay, paraphrasing a bit for clarity. 1. Gold comes easily and grows for those who save at least 1/10 of their earnings.
Right, save first.
2. Gold works hard for the wise owner who finds profitable ways to employ it, making it multiply.
Invest wisely.
3. Gold stays with the cautious owner who invests it based on advice from those experienced in handling it.
Get good counsel.
4. Gold slips away from those who invest in things they don't understand or that experienced people wouldn't recommend.
Stick to what you know or get advice from those who do.
5. And gold flees from those who try to force it into impossible earnings, follow scams, or trust their own inexperience and unrealistic desires.
Avoid get-rich-quick schemes and wishful thinking. Pretty solid advice. It really hammers home that lasting wealth comes from knowledge, consistent effort, sound judgment, not magic bullets.
Exactly. It's a process grounded in these fundamentals.
Now let's look at the gold lender of Dabalon, Mathon's wisdom. Rodan, a spearmaker, gets 50 gold pieces from the king, a significant sum for him, and he asks Mathon for advice on what to do with it.
Yeah, that's a big moment. A windfall can be a huge opportunity, but also a risk if you're not careful.
Mathon's perspective on lending is fascinating. He says it's more than just handing over gold. You need to understand human nature.
It's about judging character, not just collateral sometimes.
He tells a story about a farmer who just understood animals, implying that there's a similar intuition needed in lending, assessing the borrower's reliability, their plan, their commitment.
Right. Is this person capable? Are they trustworthy? Do they have a sound plan for the money?
Mathon keeps this token chest, like little reminders of past loans, symbolizing the borrower's trustworthiness. He notes the safest loans usually go to people whose assets are worth more than the loan itself.
Collateral. Security. Minimizing risk for the lender. That's fundamental.
He shares examples: the guy who lost it all on a volatile wife, the successful farmer borrowing for a smart venture, the risky loan to help an inexperienced son become a merchant. Each story highlights different risks and aspects of human behavior.
These anecdotes make the principles really concrete, don't they? You see the consequences of good and bad lending decisions.
Mathon advises Rodan to just hold on to his 50 pieces for now, and to look very carefully at his sister's husband's business idea before lending him anything. He stresses caution, especially with risky ventures or when there's no solid security.
Protect your capital. Don't let emotion or family ties cloud your judgment when money is involved. Be prudent.
Mathon says for a lender, gold is their merchandise. The main goal should be getting it back safely, not chasing risky high returns, and be careful about taking on other people's financial burdens.
Wise lending is about prioritizing repayment. And knowing your limits when it comes to helping others, don't jeopardize your own security.
We learned Rodan only managed to save 3 gold pieces over 3 years of hard work. That really puts the 50 pieces into perspective.
Exactly. It represents years of effort. Don't risk it lightly.
Mathon's final advice: keep your treasure safe, make it earn cautiously in established ways, avoid pie-in-the-sky schemes, and that great line, better a little caution than a great regret.
Powerful ending. Prudence over potential disaster. Solid advice for any investor or lender.
Okay, let's touch on the walls of Babylon. This one's a bit different. It uses the city's physical walls as an analogy. How do you see the connection to finance?
It's a brilliant metaphor, really. Just like those massive walls protected the city and his people from invaders, giving them security.
Right. Old Banzar the guard keeps reassuring everyone, the walls of Babylon will protect you.
We need to build our own walls,
Oh.
financial walls, things like insurance, emergency savings, solid investments. These protect us from life's unexpected attacks, job loss, illness, accidents.
So the modern walls are things like insurance policies, savings accounts, diversified investments.
Exactly. They provide that buffer, that security against financial shocks. The takeaway is stark. We cannot afford to be without adequate protection. It's about building financial resilience.
Makes sense. Now, the camel trader of Babylon, Dabasir's story. We meet him when Tarkad comes to him, hungry and in debt. Dabasir shares his own story of falling into debt by living beyond his means.
A cautionary tale we see played out all too often. Spending more than you earn is a slippery slope.
His life spirals downwards, hardship, desperation, even enslavement. But then in Syria, a maid named Sira gives him this powerful advice. Thy debts are thy enemies, fight them.
That's a mindset shift, isn't it? Seeing debt not just as numbers on a page, but as an active opponent holding you back.
Dabasir escapes, determined to repay everyone and regain his respect. He goes to Methon, the gold lender, for guidance.
Smart move. Seeking wise counsel and making a plan are crucial first steps to getting out of debt.
And we learn about his plan, detailed on clay tablets. 1/10 of earnings to keep savings, 7/10 for living expenses, and a dedicated 2/10, 20% purely for paying off debts.
That specific 7-1-20 split is really practical. It gives a clear structure. Live within your means, save for the future, and aggressively attack the debt. That 20% is significant.
His creditors react differently, some angry, some patient, but Dabasir sticks to his plan, paying everyone back impartially, bit by bit.
Discipline and consistency.
We see his progress on the tablets, debts shrinking, savings growing, his spirits lifting, pride returning. It shows the psychological benefit too, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Getting control of your finances, even incrementally, reduces stress and builds confidence. His perseverance is key.
By the end, even his harshest creditors respect him, apologize, offer help, and Dabasir realizes this enduring truth. Where the determination is, the way can be found.
Mindset is everything. That unwavering resolve is critical, especially when tackling something as daunting as major debt.
And what's really cool is the book mentions a guy, Alfred Shrewsbury, in the 20th century, who actually used Dabasir's 7-10-20 plan to get out of his own debts. It worked.
That really drives home the point, doesn't it? These aren't just ancient fables. The principles are timeless and practically effective, even today. That 20% debt repayment plan is powerful.
Wait, hey, nearly there. The luckiest man in Babylon, Sharunada's story. He's a successful merchant traveling with Hadan Gula, his old partner's grandson. He wants to help the young man who's a bit of a spender.
Sees potential, but also recognizes the need for guidance, perhaps reflecting on his own journey.
Sharunada recalls seeing these three guys still farming the same small plot of land after 40 years. A stark contrast to his own life path, which started in slavery, building the walls of Babylon.
Highlights that difference between just existing, doing the same thing day in, day out, versus striving for progress, for improvement.
He tells Hadan Gula how he became partners with his grandfather, Arid Gula. He talks about the harshness of slavery, but also about Megiddo, another slave who had this surprising view. Work was his best friend.
That's a radical perspective in that context. Seeing work not just as drudgery, but as a tool, a path forward, a way to improve your lot, even in the worst circumstances.
It changed Sharunada's outlook. He resolved to work hard, not just to avoid punishment, but to excel. He gets sold to a baker, Nananade.
An opportunity even within slavery.
And he throws himself into it. Baking, selling honey cakes, he becomes known for his diligence, his enterprise, and he starts regularly selling cakes to Arid Gula.
His hard work and initiative get noticed. Arad Gula encourages him. It shows how effort can create connections, open doors.
Sharunada saves diligently, planning to buy his freedom. He even finds out Arid Gula himself started as a slave, in partnership with his master.
Reveals that paths to success can start from anywhere, often built on hard work and partnership.
Sharunada faces a setback, gets briefly freed, then re-enslaved over a debt. But his reputation for hard work, Megiddo's philosophy sticking with him, impresses Arad Gula so much that Arad eventually buys his freedom again.
Because he saw his character, his work ethic.
Exactly, they become partners. The core message. Work, diligence, the desire to improve, these were the keys. Work attracted respect, opportunities. It wasn't just luck, it was earned.
A powerful testament to the value of hard work, perseverance, and taking initiative no matter your starting point.
Finally, the book includes an historical sketch of Babylon, just quickly reminding us it was a real place, a major center for finance, engineering, astronomy, math, highly advanced.
Right, setting the context. This wasn't some primitive society. They were innovators. Irrigation, the famous walls.
But it also notes Babylon eventually fell, became ruins. Why? The energizing human forces faded, the drive, the ingenuity, the adherence to principles, maybe that faltered.
A reminder that prosperity isn't permanent unless it's constantly nurtured by effort and sound practices. Complacency is dangerous.
And the sketch highlights the discovery of the clay tablets. That's how this wisdom survived for millennia, allowing us to have this conversation today.
Amazing, isn't it, that these practical financial lessons were recorded and preserved?
So the city's gone, but the wisdom endures. Which brings us back to where we started.
The timelessness of these principles.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, the core message from The Richest Man in Babylon seems crystal clear, doesn't it? These simple, ancient laws of wealth building, they still work?
Absolutely. It boils down to those fundamentals. Save a part of your earnings, that 10% baseline. Control your spending. Know where it goes. Budget wisely.
Make your savings work for you. Invest it smartly. Protect your investments. Avoid unnecessary risks. Get good advice.
Right.
And keep improving your ability to earn.
Building wealth isn't some secret code. It's about understanding these principles and applying them consistently, just like they did back then.
And for you, our listener, seeking that solid knowledge without getting bogged down in jargon, these ideas from Babylon offer a really clear, straightforward path to better financial health.
What's great is the way the stories make these concepts stick. They're not just rules. They're memorable narratives with lessons baked in.
Totally agree. So maybe a final thought for you to chew on. Which one of these Babylonian principles could you start putting into practice, maybe even today?
Yeah, what's one small step you could take?
What kind of financial walls are you building right now to protect your future? It's worth reflecting on how these ancient ideas might just shape your own very modern financial journey.